Putin's influence on world politics is beyond question. In December 2016, for the third time in a row, Vladimir Putin topped the Forbes list of most influential people in the world. The list is made of 74 names, one for every 100 million people in the world. And the list is compiled on the basis of how much power they wield over people, how much financial resources they control, whether they have influence in more than one sphere, and what are they doing with this power in trying to change the world. And Putin tops the list. In 2013, for the first time since 1960, the US cancelled a summit with Russia after Vladimir Putin gave asylum to whistleblower Edward Snowden. A pledge not to publish more information that could harm the United States was the only condition under which Putin said Snowden could receive safe harbor. Snowden has been in Russia for 3 years now. But there are sections of the media that are now speculating that Putin may hand Snowden over to Trump as a gift, an allegation as of now denied by Russia and Snowden. Under Obama, Washington remained wary of Putin and Russian influence and interference in countries like Syria, Cuba, Iran, and Venezuela. Russia, on its part, was angry with NATO's expansion into Eastern Europe. The Eastern Bloc was breaking away from its traditional alliance with Moscow.
His goal is to restore the greatness, make Russia great again, if you like. He got there much earlier than Donald Trump, and I think Donald Trump's politics are very derivative of the type of politics that Putin has pushed. He has, though, with the Ukraine adventure, moved beyond what I always thought was a very risk-averse attitude towards foreign policy. He's become more of a gambler, and his actions in Syria are really very direct. He's using a lot of firepower, dropping a lot of bombs, causing massive number of human casualties, and taking pretty serious risks. But he wants to extend his influence into the Mediterranean and maybe establish a permanent presence there. So I think he really is doing offense, first of all, from a defensive mindset.
So Putin, in retaliation, has been gunning for a weaker Europe. The Brexit vote and its fallout must have come as music to his ears.
I think Putin is not averse to seeing the export of democracy towards Russia's borders ending, and I think he tends to take some kind of moral satisfaction that those who are preaching the benefits of democracy and exporting it towards Russia's borders are now having trouble with their own democracies. I wouldn't say necessarily, though, that Putin sees any particular benefit for Russia in Europe becoming an unstable region. I think he really does function on a zero-sum view of the world. He's a tit-for-tat guy. You stop trying to promote democracy and colour revolutions in my backyard and I'll leave you alone. It's a theory that you would have to test in practice. Donald Trump would like to do that. Whether Putin then becomes a genuine friend of the West, well, that is a huge question.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, had been formed at the height of Cold War to defend member states from the possibility of Soviet military aggression, and the US was its major promoter. Ironically today, the European Union leaders, once considered the weak link in standing up against Russian aggression, have vowed to uphold sanctions on Russia. This, while their old ally US threatens to pull back.
Also, you've had a clash really between Trump and the most respected political leader in Europe, and that's German Chancellor Angela Merkel. They have not hit it off at all. She has been, in fact, giving him lectures on civics. So that's problematic. If Trump goes over the head of Europe and deals directly with Russia, that creates a very disturbing scenario for Europe, and they will have to look to see how they can do more to secure their own safety.
On February 13th, news suddenly broke that the newly appointed National Security Advisor to Donald Trump had resigned. Michael T. Flynn, had to resign after it was revealed that he had misled the US Vice President Mike Pence and other top White House officials about his conversations with the Russian ambassador to the United States. And so, there was real danger of Michael Flynn being vulnerable to blackmail by Moscow.
Well, I think there's a very deeply entrenched defense, intelligence and foreign policy community in Washington that has had mileage from upholding the image of Russia as a Cold War foe long after the Cold War has ended. By defining Russia as a negative other, it creates all sorts of justifications for what your country can do in the foreign policy and security space. By challenging that, it effectively takes away the justification for these people's roles and existence. And so, in a sense, Donald Trump poses an existential threat to what these people stand for. And I think you're seeing a sort of institutional backlash over and above all the questions about whether Donald Trump is fit for the office and what his aides have been doing in terms of talking to Russian officials. It's more of an existential kind of showdown over who these people are and what they stand for.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
If there is one thing that makes diplomacy difficult, it is unpredictability. So while there is fear in Washington over Trump and his team's Russian connections, the Kremlin under Putin also remains wary of Trump and his administration. There is doubt about what will happen when things don't go the Trump way.
Well, I think it's important in its own right that Donald Trump has put lifting sanctions on the table, and that's already a change in the relationship. It's important to remember that his Secretary of State is Rex Tillerson. He was chief executive of ExxonMobil, and on his watch, ExxonMobil entered into some very, very ambitious offshore oil exploration deals with Russia. Those have been suspended effectively as a result of sanctions. So there's everything to play for. The question in my mind is whether Rex Tillerson and Donald Trump are representing US national interests or the interests of big oil. I would tend to say it would have to be a give and take. If the United States want to lift sanctions, what do they get in return from Russia? Right now, some cooperation in the battle against ISIS in the Middle East. Yeah, you know, that might be something, but I think to take Congress forward, you would need a lot more evidence of a decent quid pro quo from Russia.
Warming up to Putin might not be the brightest thing for Trump. His recent interview with the American news channel, where he refused to refer to Putin as a killer, ruffled feathers.
I say it's better to get along with Russia than not, and if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight.
Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell rebuked Trump for the statement and called Putin a thug. The House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi urged FBI to investigate Trump to find out if the Russian government was blackmailing him. Under Putin, Russia's foreign policy seems aimed at regaining world dominance. The annexation of Crimea, the conflict in Ukraine, the military operations in Syria, they all challenge the post-Cold War world order. A top aide of Putin, once addressing the Valdai Discussion Club in 2014, said that Russians believe that without Putin, there is no Russia. Stanislav Belkovsky, a Russian political analyst, said that Russia's search for the national idea is finally over after the breakup of the Soviet Union, because now Russia's national idea is Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin.